how do I convince my grandson that his vote does count with all the crazy superdelegate situation? He said to me the other day, "See, Graham, my vote doesn't count." How do you answer that?
I see Women for Bernie representing tonight. Laura Harrington is a part of the core team of Women for Bernie. Shout out to Laura. Laura runs, forgive me if I get this wrong, Laura. Laura runs Google Plus. She is, I think, the Massachusetts state admin. I could be getting this all absolutely wrong. But she's definitely instrumental and key with Women for Bernie, and I'm so thankful that she was able to hop on and watch the show tonight. What I said in the chat was, well, superdelegates haven't actually decided the outcome of an election ever, not since they were created in 1968. And as we saw in 2008, superdelegates got in, they fell in behind the popular vote. Just today, 3 superdelegates from Vermont pledged to vote for Bernie Sanders at the convention, considering he won the state of Vermont. I know there was a lot of buzz over some comments that Howard Dean made. Yeah.
I would also say, like, even though the superdelegates are saying they support Hillary right now, if they see that the people don't support Hillary, they're going to recognize, oh, wait, these people vote. Oh, wait, these people won't vote for me if I do not do what they want to do. So, yeah, it's a fear, but at the same time, your vote matters because it matters to the superdelegates because most of them are elected officials. Most of them are people who rely on votes to win. So, yeah, it's kind of a scare tactic almost, I feel like. Like the establishment, what they'll do is they'll use it to test the grassroots candidate. They'll say, oh, we're going to put the superdelegates out there and you're not going to win. And it kind of forces the grassroots candidates to have to prove themselves. I mean, it's an interesting way of doing it. I completely disagree with it, but I don't think it's this big fear thing that it really is made out to be by the media. And if anything, we should be more upset with the media narrative and the fact that anytime we check on the delegates, anytime we check and see where they're at, they're always including the superdelegates in that count. To me, that's more irritating than the actual existence of the superdelegates that haven't really done anything to us.
Well, I also think that, you know, going along with that too, it's just the fact that I think there is, though, some intention on discouraging people from voting. Right? I had someone post earlier about the record low turnout that we're experiencing in some of these elections. When we look back to 2008, right, which was a breakout year election-wise for the Democratic Party, you know, there doesn't seem to be any concern. Like I've had people who say, well, what happened? Where are all the groups who get out the vote? What are they doing? I know this is something that Stacey has been involved in here down in Georgia, and like people are just now talking about maybe we'll start registering voters. Huh? We just had a primary, and now you're going to register voters? So it just seems like there's this concerted effort by the media, by even Democratic leadership to have as low a turnout as possible because low turnout favors the presumptive, you know, front runner, the chosen nominee by the party, versus as we see when we have high turnout, you know, you have a lot of new voters. You have independent voters. You have voters who otherwise aren't traditionally involved in the process coming out in larger numbers. That tends to favor a more grassroots type of candidate like Bernie Sanders. So I do think that there, to some extent, that there is a concerted effort to actually discourage people from being involved. But what I will say is that now that we know the game, you know, we need to
speak to it. Yes.
We need to speak to it, but we need to beef up. But this also goes to the conversation that Kelly and I and some others were having earlier in one of our chats about these sample ballots that go out ahead of the election.
Yeah.
You know, what I'll let Kelly jump in, but what for me, what clued me into this issue, and it's not that I haven't been aware of it before, but again, as we're all, you know, very much involved right now in this with this campaign, we're hyper aware about what's going on, right? I was included on a tweet over, I think it was Sunday, about a ballot from Chicago that says it's an official ballot, an official sample ballot from the Democratic Party, and Bernie Sanders' name is nowhere on it, right? And there was all this back and forth, whatever. So eventually, like, I have a cousin and an aunt who both were like, no, we checked our sample ballots, because if you live in Chicago, if anyone listens to Chicago, if you have family in Chicago, you can go to Chicago election website, put in your information. it'll pull up your sample ballot. And what it will have is not only who's running for, like, president and your Senate seats and things like that, it'll pull up even your local races that you're supposed to be voting for next week on March 15th as well. So it pulls up all the information based on your locality, right? So this was a ballot that was targeted and sent to people. So from what I found out from people who are working on the campaign in Chicago, as well as my relatives who are up in Chicago, was that this is a mailer that is sent out by the Cook County Democratic Party, and it's tailored the way it is because they endorse, these are the people on it. The people on it, they're saying this is who you vote for. That's who they endorse. And apparently this is a common practice that groups do, because they want voters to vote for their people. So, okay, well, that's just a common practice, and it's a mailer or whatever. And we've seen tweets from people saying that, like, what are you new to this? This is politics. This is how it's done. Well, we need to change the way it's done because we have people who were genuinely distressed since, and even some more still today. People have been genuinely distressed over this past 2 days because after all the hard work, people were questioning whether or not Bernie Sanders was really going to be on the ballot of Illinois. Well, why is that so crazy? Why wouldn't he? Do you know anything about the Chicago political machine? The Chicago political machine runs the state. And given that Hillary that's her home state. That is her home state. Plus her support in relationship with Rahm Emanuel, and you have the Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, who is also a Hillary superdelegate and supporter. You have so much entrenched power and corruption in that community. Let me clarify. I'm not saying that Tony Preckwinkle is corrupt. I went to high school with her son. I admire her very much. Just separating that out. Just got to clarify real quick. But in terms of Chicago politics and the Chicago machine, there's so much machinations that go on. When you look at the re-election of Rahm Emanuel, for example, over Chuy Garcia, who would have been a much needed improvement in terms of mayoral direction in the city, right? Like, there's so much that goes on. We can't put it past anyone. But if anyone has seen this, that ballot is not a real ballot, okay? Like, he's on the ballot. I know people personally who helped get the signatures to put him on the ballot. He's on the ballot. But these are the types of things that are going on to discourage people. If I was a Bernie Sanders supporter and I wasn't very savvy and didn't know how to look all this stuff up, and I get something like that in the mail, that could, like, discourage me from actually going to the polls. Like, my vote doesn't matter anyway. So, like the superdelegate thing, we just have to keep pushing. We have to keep pushing. We have to keep encouraging each other. This is like, how you have your workout buddies. You need your Bernie grassroots buddies, okay? We just got to keep at it. So we do have a caller, and we're going to start wrapping it up for the evening, I think.